everyone, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today I have a quick card for you. I created this card because I made some cards similar to this one for my Christmas card this year, and then I realized I didn't make enough and I was running out of time. So I made some changes. This card is a portrait card. The first one was a landscape card. This one, the sentiment is stamped on the card. You're not going to do any cutting. I'm not coloring the berries, but I am using the gold embossing powder to give it a little bling, because even though it's last minute, I want it to still have a little bit of zing to it. So I hope if you are in the same boat that I was in, had to come up with something quick and easy, then you'll want to make this card with me. Now I'm going to be using the stamps from the Simon Says Stamp December 2022 card kit. I have the links in the description below. They are affiliate links, so I do earn a small commission if you do use my affiliate links, so I appreciate your support. So let's dive right in. I'm going to get my MISTI. So here's my MISTI, and it is still... Oh, see if I can figure out how to do this. It's still got some of the green from when I was working earlier, so sorry about that. So you're going to want to get, I'm using 80-pound Neenah Solar White cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and this is a portrait card. And then you're going to want 2 pieces of that same 80-pound Neenah Solar White that are 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, 2 the same size, outside and inside. And I'm going to be doing 2 cards to show you how you can do multiples of these relatively easy. And the only other thing you're going to need is a color. Now this is Hero Arts Pine 110-pound cardstock. And then I'm going to be using the Hero Arts Pine Core ink that complements that. It's a hybrid ink. You can use any kind of ink that you want, color green, or as long as it matches your cardstock pretty well, I think you'll be good. So let's grab these 2 pieces of white cardstock, and let's get our stamp, this big, beautiful, a lot more versatile than I thought it would be, and sticky. Oh my gosh, sticking to everything. What we want to do is, so this is the back side, that's the front side. We want to get that poinsettia in the corner here. So this is the side we're going to use. Actually, this is the front, this is the back. We're going to use this half and put that beautiful poinsettia in the corner. Off the corner, the leaves are going to be off the corner. This part is going to be completely on the card, except for a little bit is going to be off the edge. And then this little fern thing right here is going to be completely on the card. So you want to make sure you get that little fern thing on the card, just so that you kind of know the placement that I have here in mind. And I think that's good. So I'm trying to remember how I did this. I think I did it like this. There we go. And going to pick up that stamp, and I'm using, I told you in the other video, but I'll tell you here, I'm using underneath here the Sizzix grid sheets. I'm using one there and then one underneath to keep my foam and everything from sliding around. And then if that's not enough, I'm going to use some tape, some Scotch removable tape. So here's where my stamp is going to hit my cardstock, so I'm going to ink that up really well. And you do want something underneath because you're going to overstamp your cardstock. All right, so here we go. Now this, I will tell you, you're going to see me do this several times because after making all the Christmas cards I've made, my ink is getting kind of dry. So sorry that I'm going to make you watch me do this. Hopefully your pad isn't going to be dry like mine. Now this is kind of a blue-green, which I think goes really well with this. You could try a shamrock type of green, as long as your ink and your cardstock are complementary. I think you will be okay. And if you like it really dark like I do, that would be okay. But I really like it so dark that it just pops off the paper. Okay, so now if you're only going to do the one, you would be done. But I did want to show you how to do multiples if you're, you know, just getting started on your cards. Let me grab a second one. These were, like I said, 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So make sure that's not going to stamp on my magnet. So this is just to show you how you can just keep feeding those in there, and you're going to just make card after card after card, however many you needed. I needed to make 10 more cards. I don't know how I miscounted by 10. That's a lot. So you can see why I picked a really simple idea. Kind of a tweaking of my other card, my original card, which you may have watched that video as well. It's a little harder because you do have to color those berries. Those berries are time consuming, more time consuming than I thought it would be. But no coloring the berries and no fussing cutting in this card, and I think it still has a lot of wow to it. All right, so, and then again, if you had more, you just keep feeding them there and stamping them. Now with the other, I don't know that do we need to clean that off? Let me go ahead. So I'm gonna have to reposition it, and I don't want it to get ink on anything when I reposition it. So now we're going to use the other half of our stamp. And the other half has a pine cone on it. Let me dry that off because wet stamps and ink don't mix well at all. You may have found that out. But just in case you didn't know, and I'm just going to dry that off. Okay, now we're going to do the bottom half. So there's the top corner, and then the bottom corner is going to be, here's the back, here's the front, and we're going to use this half now, which has a pine cone and then two kind of like pine leaf-like things. Now, the pine cone is going to be almost like 1/8 of an inch from the edge, the right edge. It's going to hang off just a little bit down here at the bottom, just a little bit. And you don't want, the thing you don't want is you don't want to have this long fern here. This short little fern is all you want because you want to save room for your in your sentiment. All right, so am I going to be able to do that this way, or should I do it this way? I think I did it in this corner here. I'm going to pick that stamp up, And I'm pretty sure that's going to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, you can see that's picking up. So I'm going to tape it down with just a little bit of Scotch removable tape. This time I'm going to ink up this side of the card stock. And again, be patient because I have no ink in my pad. I'm really squeezing out every little drop. I need to order a refill. I don't normally need to order refills, but when you use one color for like 30 cards or more, or actually more than that, 40 I ended up making altogether, if not more, it does dry your ink pad out pretty quickly. So hopefully your ink pad is nice and juicy and you're not having to squeeze out every drop that's left. Okay, so there's that one. I think that's going to be enough. So that's our front. Now the inside is cool because you're going to take that other piece of 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 and you're going to leave your stamp where it is. You're going to put that in place and ink that up again, and what that's going to do is do the inside part. And that makes it easy for you. You don't have to move your stamp again. So hopefully you'll find this easy to do. If you've already made your cards this year, congratulations. Yay for you. But you know, you can start thinking about next year and get ahead of the game. And every year I promise myself that I'm going to do that, and every year here it is 12 days before Christmas and I'm doing this, or however many days is it till Christmas. Yes, it's 13 days till Christmas, I think. So hopefully this is a card that you could make, you know, stay up till midnight, make a bunch, get them in the mail tomorrow. You could watch a movie while you do it. This one, I don't really care if it's that colorful or that deep of a color because it's going to be on the inside. So if it is a little less bold, I'll be okay with that. Okay, so here's the inside for my second one. So you would just keep feeding the insides for all the other cards that you're doing, however many you decide to make. And we're going to do these together. I think this is the last one for my green. I'm so grateful for that because you can imagine it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Okay, that's the last one. That is that. Awesome. Now I'm going to wipe off my stamp. Now this is a hybrid ink, and you could tell I started out with a green ink, a green stamp from all my stamping. I found that I did get some green on this. I don't want to recommend anything to you because if something happens, I don't want to take responsibility. But I did find that if I used the Stays On all-purpose cleaner, I put it on a dry. Well, this isn't even dry really, but I just put a little there, and it cleaned up my this area pretty well. Actually, it's not working too great right now because this is wet, but if it wasn't wet, it would be working. And then you do always want to wipe it off once you use a cleaner of some sort. I don't know if that's an approved cleaner for it, but that's what I use, just so you know. And I'll have to come back later with the dry one because I can see it's not picking it up. All right, moving right along. And I have learned to put my stamps back when I'm done, because I've had some embarrassing videos where I've lost stamps and I couldn't finish my project. So Holiday Wishes is for the front. This is where it gets a little bit busier. Let me grab the two fronts here. Oops, did I not do, I didn't do the second half. All right, well, I'm busy talking. So I'm just going to do this one then, because I've already cleaned my stamp. So what I'm gonna do now is get my Versamark, get my powder tool so I don't forget to use it, and I'm gonna get my Superfine Gold Detail Embossing Powder by Ranger, and my stamp, which is the Holiday Wishes. And one of the ways that I'm going to make sure that that's straight is, first of all, I'm going to put it where I want it. I have to move this so I can and then I'm just going to use this as kind of a guide to see if I'm getting it straight. So I'm going to pull this out so I don't get my head in here. And it works better if you use a piece of colored, let me use a piece of colored cardstock because I can actually see that better. Am I still in camera? Probably not. All right, so I'm using the Wishes, the ISHES. I'm lining that up along the blue line. I want it to be a little bit more here though, I think. There we go. Holiday Wishes. And that's going to land right where I want it. If you want to check it before you commit, you can take a piece of 4x6 acetate and put it here and stamp it with some colored ink. I'm going to use my dry green ink pad and stamp it. You don't have to do this part, but if you just want to make sure that it's straight and it's not going to be wonky when you're finished, and that looks good. So I'm gonna keep that like it is. But I am going to clean this off so I don't get ink anywhere. So that is ready to go. I'm going to clean off my stamp because I'm going to use my Versamark now and dry it off just to make sure that it takes. All right, Versamark, here we go. Tape that down just in case. All right, so Versamark watermark stamp pad. And the good thing is if a little bit of that green ink stays on, you can actually see your stamping, but it won't show once you have, and I forgot to use my powder tool because I was talking. You do want to use a powder tool before you put your ink on there, your Versamark, to keep the static down. I did not. Half the time I forget. especially when I'm on camera talking. So I'm going to put my gold embossing powder. Now, if you were doing more than one, I try to do 4 at a time because I don't know how quickly that ink is going to dry. So I stamp 4, then I put powder on 4, and I dry them. So hopefully that's going to work out. We'll see. So if you had more, you'd go ahead and do stamp 4, powder 4, and heat 4. I'd do 4 at a time. I wouldn't do more than 4 at a time, just because. Okay, so here we go. I'm probably going to turn down the volume so you don't hear this terrible noise. But I'm going to use my Sizzix heat tool on 2. And I always take it and shine it in the light to make sure that it's all glossy. And I can see I missed a spot right there. Because it can fool you. You can think it's done and it's not. Okay, so there's the front of our card. Easy peasy. All right, now we're going to do the inside, which is this here. Bring this back in. Wipe off our stamp. And replace the stamp because you don't want to lose it. Now we're going to grab the inside stamp, which says, "Wishing you a joyful Christmas." Okay, and bring this over here to the corner. And decide where you want it. Like, I want mine right here, and that will give me plenty of room to sign my name. Bring in that colored cardstock again. I'm going to use Christmas this time to line this up. I'm going to have to bring it out of the camera to do this. All right, and then I'm going to pick that up. It's ready to stamp. Tape that down just for good measure. Ink it up with my whoops powder tool. Yay, I remembered. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I almost forgot again. All right, so Versamark. Gently, because that is very sticky. Ink that up again one more time just for good measure. Push it down so you get a full coverage. And now if you were going to do more, like I said, you could load another one in there. I might just go ahead and do this one, 2, just to show you how easy it is to do multiples. So it's in the corner. Set that aside. Versamark this up. Okay, and then it is ready. And see, I forgot to powder that one. Well, surprise. Okay, let's powder them up. And I find it's easier to powder with it going down. Use as little bit of the card as possible. That way there's less likeliness of it sticking. And sometimes that second coat really makes a difference. All right, and then let's do this one. This one I did powder. Luckily, there's not a lot of static, so thankfully, even though I didn't powder it, I may not have so much problem. Okay. I always put the lid on that because I don't want it blowing everywhere. Again. Now this curls a little bit. I find it's better to just like kind of curl it down while it's still warm. And that way if it curls, it'll curl towards the card and not away from the card. All right, let's bring in the rest of our stuff. The pine cardstock. I don't know if I told you the pine. The pine is 4 by 5 1/4. 4 by 5 1/4. So let's find our front. This is going to go on our pine, 4 by 5 1/4. Now this, you can see it is curling. So I'm going to do it down. You can see it has like now a curl this way. Make the curl, you know, work with us instead of against us. I am going to use lots of this. I don't suggest you use glue because the glue will leave like a watermark. You can actually see like a watermark where the glue is on this white. So I'm going to go old school and go all the way around, making sure I get close to the corners, and then down the center. And this only has like a 1/16 of an inch. I just wanted it to have something to give it a little color pop. And again, I'm going to like do that, curling it down, face like that. It's ready to go on the front of our card. That's our 80-pound Mina Solar White. And I use the 80-pound instead of the 110 because this is a 110-pound cardstock here. And we don't need all that bulk and waste. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and go crazy with this too, just like I did all the way around, just to make sure it stays. And this has an 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Now you can see this would be a pretty simple card. You don't have to do the embossing. You could use a red ink maybe if you wanted to use a nice berry red ink. If you didn't have time to even do the embossing, I just chose to do the embossing because I wanted it, I didn't want the recipients to feel cheated, like they just got a last minute card from me. And so the embossing kind of says, I cared enough to take a little extra time for your card, even though I forgot about it. Even though I had to, it was last minute, I still thought enough of you to make a card with something, a little bit of pizzazz. Okay, that's the card. I hope you can make some. It is actually a very pretty card. Cards always look better in real life anyway. And some of you may be getting one of these. So if you know you get one, you'll know it was a last minute thought. Okay, well thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.